Hello, my friends. Oh, I'm so glad to see you joining. It's an exciting day in the village of nothing much. I just got off the Instagram live, which did get saved there, and I read a different story there. So if you have Instagram or you want to just have it for today, you can go and watch that live reading that we just did, as well as a bunch of Q&A and chitty chat. Hello. I'm going to give folks a minute or two to find us. The story I am reading you today, hi Lori, I'm excited to see you there, is from the book. Such a good book. Such a good book to buy for yourself and give as a gift. Oh, someone's on the shores of Lake Michigan. Lucky you. I'll probably be there in a couple of weeks. So I'm reading this story today that is an exclusive story to the book. I think there are 12 or maybe 16 stories in the book that are not anywhere else. So you might not have ever heard it unless you've read the book. It's people always want to know if the stories are about me or based on my real life experience. And one of the reasons I picked is that this story is because this one is based to a certain extent on an experience I had. In it, I talk about a moment in which the narrator is just a little bit overcome watching music happen. And I'll tell you after the story what musician I was watching that inspired this one. Let me just give folks one more minute. Oh, I'm so excited that people in New Zealand are there listening. What a lovely way to feel connected. Thank you so much. It's already Wednesday in New Zealand. Fantastic. We're going to do some live, sorry. Thank you for buying the book. Some Q&A after the story with my manager and friend Nate. And if you didn't get a chance to send in a question, just hold it right now. Don't post it now because we probably won't see it. But when we get to that point, usually there's a little extra time and you can enter in a question if you have one. So like I said, I'm reading from the book a story called A Concert in the Park. And I'm using this lovely bookmark. Is there a level of cool that is above a bookmark with your own name on it? Oh, my dad's here. Hi, Dad. Karina from Denmark. Is this... I don't know what language this is, but I feel like this could be the Denmark version. The Danish version of the... I don't know. But I have like 3 of these bookmarks that my publisher sent me. And I just treat them like they are crystals. Because as an ultimate book nerd, there is no higher thing than having something like this. Okay, let me read to you. But first, let's take our deep breaths. So draw a deep breath in through your nose and sigh from your mouth. One more time, breathe in. And sigh. Good. A concert in the park. It was a sunny day in the middle of the week, in the middle of the summer. I'd gotten home from work and puttered around in the yard for a while. Then cut a vase's worth of tiger lilies and set them on the table by the front door. Pulling one out pulling out one extra bloom and setting it in a bud vase to sit on my bedside table. I'd had a sweetheart years ago who always did this for me. A vase of flowers on the table and one blossom by the bed. And I'd found it to be so romantic and cheerful that I'd kept the habit for myself ever since. Romance and cheer are important, even when you're by yourself. I poured myself a glass of iced tea and watched cars going past from the kitchen window. I got lost in my imagination for a moment, staring out at the traffic. One car going straight, another turning, and I stood wondering where they were going on this lovely summer afternoon. I had that flash of understanding that sometimes happens when we step outside our own perspectives. That every person is the main character of their own story, and we move in and out of the frame of others' stories as supporting characters or background players. But we never really know any story but our own. I set my glass down, and my gaze fell on the calendar, stuck with a magnet to the side of the fridge. Weeks ago, I'd written in today's block of space, concert in the park, 6 p.m. I looked at my watch and saw that it was 1:45. I'd have just enough time to walk into town and find a spot on a bench by the stage. I pulled my bag over my shoulder and tied my sneakers on and started in a brisk pace toward the park. It felt good to walk fast and feel the summer air skimming over my skin. I looked into front yards as I passed, noticing different flowers and ground cover and leafy green perennials. There was an old house on a corner just by the park that had a giant stone planter on either side of the front walkway. And I stopped for a moment to appreciate the elephant ears growing on long, slim stems, which were now several feet tall. Their leaves were arrow-shaped and soft, with bright veins that seemed impossibly big. I looked forward to seeing how high they would grow by September. I circled past the pond and around to a sunken space shaped like a clamshell, with built-in benches and a stage covered with a canopy of thin wooden slats, laced over by a climbing vine. The band was already playing, a 4-piece jazz band with drums, a stand-up bass, piano, and horn. The benches around me were filling up with a combination of families and couples and people like me who came on purpose to listen, and others who had, by happy accident, heard the music on their way out of work and walked over to enjoy. I leaned my back against the cool stone of the bench behind me and closed my eyes to listen. The music followed a few familiar paths that I recognized from the old jazz records I'd been listening to since I was a child, then veered off into unfamiliar patterns and rhythms, and circled back and veered away again. I looked up at the stage and watched the piano player and the horn player. They were watching each other, sometimes nodding in agreement as if to say, "Yeah, good idea, more of that." Every now and then, one of them would crack a sudden smile and laugh, and I realized that someone in the band had somehow just told a musical joke. They were speaking a language that was foreign to me, and I couldn't translate it or say what the joke was, but what I could hear was beautiful nonetheless. I watched a little boy a few rows in front of me, He was watching the bass player as she thumped up and down the neck of the instrument with confident, strong fingers. As the horn blew and the melody turned in spirals in the air, she spun her bass on its end pin and caught it again in time to pluck out the next bit of rhythm. The little boy clapped his hands and swung his legs in time with the music. I thought of a moment when I'd felt something similar. A different kind of concert a few years before. It was in an old, roomy theater with creaking wooden seats and an expansive ceiling full of symmetrical painted murals framed in moldings that were already 100 years old. A friend had pulled a few strings for me, knowing that this particular concert was a moment I'd dreamed of. She'd gotten me a seat, dead center in the very front row. And when the man walked out on stage and sat down with his cello, I could have nearly reached out and touched him. I'd expected to be enthralled by his playing, to be enraptured by the acoustics produced in the old theater. What I hadn't counted on were the tears that slipped down my cheeks, the feeling of my breath being taken from my body, the way I almost couldn't keep track of the notes as they thrummed through my chest. I gulped and pressed my hand over my heart and sat still so as not to break the spell while he played. I've never had an experience quite like that. This man hadn't just been speaking a language I didn't know. He seemed himself to have come from a different planet and was showing us what language was like on the other side of the cosmos. Not everyone could make music like that. In fact, only a few in every generation can, but that didn't diminish the joy of this simple concert in the park or the power of a string of notes to cut through thought and make us present. There was a clarinet player somewhere in my neighborhood whom I heard sometimes when I was out for a walk. The music coming from an open window in an upstairs room. The playing was sometimes squeaky and halting, but it was also patient and persistent, and I was always glad to hear it. It made me think back to my own days in school band. I joked sometimes that I had played eighth chair flute, even though there were only 5 of us. The truth was that because it hadn't come quickly to me, I'd given it up. In my immature brain, I figured that if I couldn't be the best, I would quit. The folly of youth. I was glad that years had passed and given me their wisdom, that now I could see that I didn't have to be the best, that there was a whole lot of joy and meaning and learning to be had in the act of simply playing. I hoped the boy swinging his legs and clapping along to the music would be a bit wiser than I had when his turn for school band came around, though I reminded myself everyone has their own journey to understanding. Everyone has their own story to tell. Sweet dreams. I love that story. I'm so glad I got to read it to you today. These exclusive stories in the book, sometimes I almost lose track of what's in there, and when I get to go back and revisit them, they're lovely memories of writing them, of knowing I was writing my first book. So that moment of being in the concert hall and being in the middle of the front row and 5 feet away from an incredible musician, and it just shockingly making me cry in a way that I didn't see coming, was a Yo-Yo Ma concert where I did get to sit right there and have that experience. And it was absolutely beautiful. If you enjoyed that story, and if there were any moments in it that particularly made you smile, I'd love to hear about it in the chat. I am also going to try to figure out how to invite my friend Nate. Nate, if you are here, can you ask to, because here I don't see, like, oh, I don't need a filter. I'm all set. 9th chair flautist here. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I played for maybe I think I played for 4 years, and I wasn't good at it. Oh, Nate doesn't have a button either. Gosh darn it. It's okay, we can be flexible. So Nate is my manager and my friend, and hopefully we will find a way to get him in here. But in the meantime, I'm just going to look through a couple of questions. Now, if you have a question for me and you didn't get it in, I would say don't put it in the chat right now because I'm a terrible multitasker. So I'm going to start just by reading a couple of questions that we did get sent. Let me just pull that up. There we are. Okay. Oh, this one is such a nice question. This is from Julie, and she said, the subject is making us better humans. Hi, Kathryn. What I most love about your stories, besides falling asleep quickly, is that they are so kind, so refreshingly kind. What I have noticed in myself is that I've been practicing being less judgmental, and my spirit is calmer. My anxiety has decreased. My question is, has it been your plan to not only help us sleep, but to encourage us to be better humans? And if so, I can report that it's working. Thank you, Julie. I feel like I'm going to twist my mustache like a villain in a silent movie. My plan is going swimmingly. But yes, I feel like I have this opportunity in that moment of writing something that you're going to be listening to when in the vulnerable, quiet space as you fall asleep, that I think lets me plant some seeds. I was a full-time yoga teacher for 20 years, and there's a lot that doing that work taught me. And I thought, rather than approaching that as I had in the last career, in this sort of very direct delivering a message kind of way, I felt like I could just fold it into stories. And it's a little bit like hiding veggies in your kids' foods. They just kind of get all the nutrition that they need. And so that is definitely a deliberate choice that I make. I also write The Village of Nothing Much as if I am writing it into existence. It is a place where everyone is safe and everyone has access, everyone has food, everyone has all the things that they need. Kindness is commonplace. You can take it for granted in The Village of Nothing Much that people will be kind to you, in the hopes that it will sort of work its way in. If it appeals to you, then let's in small ways start creating it around us. Okay. Oh, I saw this question earlier, and I'm so glad I get to answer it, because I was like, uh-oh, this person has missed a big, important part of the stories. And this person says, doesn't Birdie have a cat sister now that her owner is married? When will we hear about her? I need more cat stories in my life. My friend, I am about to give you the biggest gift. There are so many stories about Birdie's sister, because Birdie's sister is Marmalade, the queen of the Village of Nothing Much. Marmalade and Crumb, their mom married Birdie's dad. So there was a story in the spring called Muddy Paws. Marmalade was in that, but we have a whole Marmalade and Crumb and Birdie playlist on YouTube. You can see all of those, hear all of those stories. If you use Spotify, you can create your own playlist. But there are probably a dozen stories now that feature Marmalade and Crumb and Birdie, and I promise I will write more. I just wrote another one the other day. There's more coming. This is from Christine. And Christine says, can you talk about your writing process for your stories? Do you have a subject like friendship and then clothe it in detail? Or do you start with something physical like ladybugs and discover some deeper metaphor? How do your ideas come to you? This is me instantly going, ladybugs? Let me just add that to the list. I usually start with ideas like ladybugs. And I'm going to read you just a couple. Right now, there are 75 items on this list that are stories I think I will write someday. And I'm just going to read you a couple. Lightning glass. Do you know what lightning glass is? When lightning strikes the beach, it turns the sand of the beach into a small bit of glass. There's a story. Trumpet vine. Street lights out. Masquerade ball at the inn. Hello, Halloween. A wish on a dandelion. Moonflowers. The way that swans greet each other, where they do that cheek-to-cheek thing. Making friends with crows. Oh my God. Ladybugs is on this list. We have the same brain, Christine. So that's usually where I start. I just start with an idea like that, and then I start to work my way into it and think, what could that moment include? What else is there? One thing I've learned about writing is that your subconscious is playing a really big role in it. And there are often things that you don't know why you come to them. And so you just have to kind of trust the process once you have found the right creative groove, to just follow the pathway that is being laid out in front of you. Okay. I'm going to answer this question because it's from an old friend of mine. Hi, Anna. She says, do you have a special bond or kinship with any of the people or places in your story, and what is that like? Yes, definitely. I think I have a feeling of kinship with the innkeeper. There's always this feeling I've had that the innkeeper there's something else going on with the innkeeper. You know, there's this timeline situation there where we have the innkeeper, we have the other innkeeper who was there before her. And I just feel like there's a level of mystery about her, and that she has some role in the village that we're not seeing completely. And I feel like I can relate to that, that I'm behind the scenes pulling those strings and just kind of watching everyone enjoy themselves. I also really relate to the bookstore keeper. I mean, I feel like that's a fantasy. Who wouldn't love to own a bookstore and sell books all day? This is from Rosanna. She says, hi, Kathryn. I saw that a lot of your stories have elements of Italy in them, especially your earlier stories. Do you have a personal connection? I thought maybe you had studied abroad or come as an au pair. I'm living in Italy now after arriving in 2020 as an au pair. Would love to hear about your time in Italy. Best, Rosie. Hai capito esattamente. Yes, I used to live in Italy. I was a foreign exchange student in my junior year of high school, which was a long time ago. But I moved there when I was 16, not speaking any Italian at all. I lived in Salerno, which is just below the Amalfi Coast, and such an absolutely gorgeous place to live in Italy. I had an incredible host family, and I talked a little bit about part of my experience with living in Italy and my host family in the podcast called Meditative Story. So if you, on your podcast app, if you just search Meditative Story and scroll through till you find Kathryn Nicolai, you can hear me talk about it. It was an incredible experience. I'm still very close with my host family. The last time I was in Italy was right before the pandemic when my host sister got married. But I hope to go back very soon. I've probably been 10 times. I do still speak Italian very well. Not as well as I did maybe 25 years ago, but still very well. And I go to a conversational Italian group here in Detroit and chit chat, and I have a lot of love for that country. Here's another question from Jean. Ongoing storyline. She says, I love that the characters that are featured in the piano, the Halloween witches, and the ones involved in the wedding. Are you considering more frequent ongoing episodes featuring them? I love your view of the world. Thanks also for your book. Thank you so much. Thank you for buying my book. Yes, I feel like as the years go on, I am developing more and more of those ongoing storylines. It is so much fun for me as a writer. I hope you enjoy when you listen and you kind of realize, oh, this boy with the piano. Yes, we've seen him before. The story I read in the Instagram live that we did an hour ago, I read a bonus story from the Premium Plus feed that that features that boy again, and I forgot he was in it. So, yeah, I definitely will write more. If you want to let me know like what your favorite characters and ongoing storylines are, I would love it. You say, Marge says that I love that the people are ageless. Me too. And I find that I appreciate that there are all these different people in the village, and there is this web of friendships between ages, between situations. I think that as we become adults, friendships are some of the most important relationships and most sacred relationships we'll have. And I love how many of the stories are just about friendships. I think that's so valuable. Okay. I'm going to move to tell you a little bit about something else that we're doing that's exciting today. Today is our 6th anniversary, in case I haven't said that. 6 years of Nothing Much Happens, over 250 stories, a book in 34 countries, and more exciting things to come. Maybe in a couple months, I'll be able to tell you about some of the more exciting things that are happening. Today, one of the things on our list was to give. You've probably heard me say many times that we give to a different charity each week. And this week we are giving to 2 because we already had one. But then I wanted to take that just a little bit further and see if I might encourage some of my fellow villagers to give. So today we are giving to the Fred Rogers Institute. I am so inspired by Mr. Rogers. I feel like as a 6-year-old, he taught me this. He taught me nothing much happens when I was a child. He taught me that you can make a land of make-believe and then invite other people into it, and it can heal them. So I am forever grateful to him and to be such a lovely example of compassion and kindness and caring. So if you donate today and just take a screenshot and send it to us, you're going to get entered into our giveaway, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. If you just feel called to give something today, maybe it's $5. The Fred Rogers Institute funds all these initiatives that look at child literacy and mental health and help educators and help parents and help neighborhoods, just like the Village of Nothing Much. We will have a link. Oh, Nate posted the link. Thank you so much, Nate. Sorry, I'm not a good multitasker. Nate, that's why I need you to be here. Let me tell you a little bit about one more exciting thing that's happening in the Village of Nothing Much. We had this idea a little while ago about bringing you more ways to wind down. I want to be there sort of in every way that I can to assist you. That's why we have the morning meditation podcast. First this, then we have the daytime version of the show, Stories from the Village of Nothing Much, if you need to wind down without necessarily falling asleep. And as somebody who is just really interested in sleep and constantly trying different products, I have this long list of favorite products that I use that are part of my nighttime rituals or that I use when I need to fall asleep. After all, I'm like the one person who doesn't get to listen to the Village of Nothing Much. I can't really listen to my own stories because I don't have the same experience. So I feel like it's given me an opportunity to cultivate all these lovely products. So we are launching the Nothing Much Happens Wind Down Box. This is a seasonal box. It comes with, I think 6, Nate, you can tell me if I'm wrong, 6 full-size products. Everything is vegan if that's something that matters to you. I'm vegan, so I just wanted to make sure that everything that is in the box doesn't contain animal products and wasn't tested on animals. And they're all these lovely things that you can use to have a good wind down, a good bedtime ritual, and a good night's sleep. So this first box is set to ship on May 13th, which is my mother's birthday. So you kind of have to check it out. For example, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's in this first box. We have Alice mushrooms, nightcap chocolates. They're delicious. Take a little square of chocolate when you're struggling to fall asleep, and these lovely nightcap mushrooms, you sleep fantastically. We have a Brighter Year mini coloring books. A lot of times when I open a coloring book, it's too much. I'm overwhelmed. It's a big page. I've already made too many decisions. I'm struggling to figure out how this is supposed to be stress relieving to me. So we partnered with this team called A Brighter Year who makes these lovely mini books. It would probably take you 2 or 3 minutes to color one of these pages. Start the podcast, do some coloring, stop scrolling through the same 4 apps over and over again, and find your way to better sleep. Then we're using Woolsey's Lavender Roll-On. This is really high quality lavender essential oils. I use this almost every single night. We have a fantastic lavender silk candle from a company called Velabox, which is a really great company, and we've got more coming from them in a while. NutriChamp Tart Cherry Gummies. You might have heard about using tart cherry juice at night. It's anti-inflammatory, and for a lot of people, it's a great way to help them have a good night's sleep. These little chewables, they're really tasty. I often forget to take my vitamins. I never forget to take these at night. And then we have Aversio's Chill Now, which is organic reishi mushrooms. It's a capsule. And for years, I kind of dabbled with trying different kinds of mushrooms. And until I started taking theirs every single night for 6 or 8 weeks, I did not really understand how it felt and the difference it made. And so I really appreciate the quality of their products. With all of that, you get all those full size products, which is about $200. The box is set at $79, so it's a really great value. And then you also get from me, I created 3 mini-sodes. 3 10-minute episodes. There's a letter from me, and then there's QR codes so that you can just scan a code and tune right into these exclusive mini episodes. One is for before bed. It will walk you through a progressive muscle relaxation and help you really wind down if it's been a stressful day. Progressive muscle relaxation helps you to close out your stress cycles. And I could talk for hours about that, but stress cycles can build up in your body, and there's specific things you can do to close them out, to finish the cycle and reset your nervous system. And so this is a simple way to do it. I will guide you through it as a yoga teacher. It's my bread and butter. Then we have a middle of the night episode. If you've woken in the middle of the night, it's specific to that need. I will put you back to sleep. And then we have a morning episode that's based on my story, 3 Good Things. It's a gratitude creator. So those are all just extra bits that come in the box. I saw Nate post the link. It's also in our most recent show notes. If you go to nothingmuchhappens.com and click on shop, you'll see it there. So we want to give away 2 of these boxes. They're beautiful, and I'm really proud of them. And all you need to do, we have the most recent post on our feed on Facebook, you'll see is about this box. If you like it, that's an entry. If you comment somebody else's name, a friend who you think might like it, that's an entry to win. You can comment as many friends as you like. And they all are additional entries to win a box. Someone just asked if there's a yarn store. There is a yarn store in the village. It's in the bonus episodes. I think I've written about it twice. I think they're both in the bonus episodes. I keep doing that. So follow, like the post, tag friends who you think might be interested in the wind down box. We will give 2 of them away. I think I want to give away this book that I read from too. I cracked the binding when I opened it, and there was a moment where I was like, oh, I cracked the binding. That's kind of a bummer. I probably don't want to sell this book now. And then I thought maybe I'll just give it away to one of you who are watching today. So do the same thing. Just like the most recent post, add a friend, and we will add this as part of the giveaway. Nate, I'm starting to wind down. If you need me to say anything else, please add it in. If anybody has any last minute questions. Let me scroll back through. Maybe I can find some. Oh, you don't know about Mr. Rogers? Oh, my friend. I'm excited. Stories about quilts. I wrote one in the spring. Did you read The Winter Quilt? Or did you listen to The Winter Quilt? It's a lovely episode. Gail already bought a box. You are a hero, Gail. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the gratitude. I have the greatest job in the world. That's happened to me twice. I was a full-time yoga teacher, and now I get to be a full-time dream weaver. Rhonda wants to know what drew me to this type of work. I feel like it was an extension of being a yoga teacher, and also an extension of knowing how to sleep, of using this technique myself. I've always told myself stories. And so it started to make me think, how do I share this? How can I give this to other people? And I thought, it's a podcast. The village needs an amateur orchestra. Janet, that is not a bad idea. We do have the amateur theatrics. We have that story opening night. I think the orchestra is a great idea. I'd love to do a book signing in the UK. I would love to. I was supposed to go on a big book tour, and then the pandemic happened. Can I explain the extra subscription level? I assume, Sharon, that you're talking about Premium Plus of the podcast, not the subscription box that I'm talking about. So right now, you can listen to the podcast for free. There are ads on it, and they're all read in my voice. So the idea is that it's not going to wake you up. It's not going to shift you out of whatever state you're in. But you get sort of limited episodes with ads. If you upgrade to a Premium Plus subscription, you get a monthly bonus episode, and this is going back years, so there's already over 35 bonus episodes that only exist on the Premium Plus feed. And you get ad-free experience. So it's just a little bit more pure. It comes down to about 10 cents a day. If that's something that you're interested in, you can go to nothingmuchhappens.com, and there's a bunch of buttons to find out, how you want to do it. It's available on all devices and all apps. Thank you for saying that it is worth it. I so appreciate that. Thank you for coming into the village of Nothing Much with me. I feel like it's like build it and they will come. I was like, I want this experience, this community, and then y'all showed up. Nate just posted a question that someone must have thrown out earlier. How do you write cozy, lovely fiction when life throws you wild cards, like through grief or rage or whatnot? That's a good question. I have a lot of self-stabilizing practices built in place. That's 20 years of being a yoga teacher. I'm in my sound booth right now where I record my podcast, but it's also where I sit meditation. So I do have practices built in. If you're interested in starting meditation, I really encourage you to check out first this. It's always ad-free. It's never monetized. And it's just 10 minutes, and it's very down to earth. If you've always felt like, I don't know, meditation sounds kind of out there, I'm the teacher for you. I'm here to give you practical skills that just help you feel a little more stable through the day. That's what my goal as a teacher has always been. And I feel like all these little practices I have built into my life first help me find the place to sit down and write stories. But then once I get to sit down and write the stories, then that brings me into a place of mental clarity. So I still have bad days, and I'm still living in this same scary world that we are all living in right now. But I think for our own sanity and survival, we have to dig out things that are going to help us feel joyful and feel grateful and connected. And things like meditation and writing as a creative person and doing yoga and going for walks and being with my dogs and interacting with all of you, those are sweet spots for me. So I encourage other people to do that too. Thank you for all the love for First This. Allison wants to know if we can ship the box internationally. Coming soon. We are working on that right now. If you go to, the link in our shop, it'll take you to the Shopify store, and you can leave a message there and just say, we will work, that you want this, and we will get back to you very soon. Y'all are so nice to me. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. As we close, I just want you to know how much love and affection I have for you. If you ever hear those moments in the podcast where you can maybe even hear my voice crack with emotion, please know how genuinely I am wishing for your well-being, how much it matters to me that you have a place where you feel safe and accepted and cared for each evening as you settle into bed. It is the greatest honor of my life that I get to be that entryway, that gateway for you. So thank you so much for taking care of yourself with a little bit of self-care through the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you didn't listen, I wouldn't get to have this as a job, and I never forget that. So thank you so much. I will be thinking of you the next time I say, sweet dreams.